Number 11, Mr. Mitch McGovern. Pom, this is your man. This is a man who has come under a bit of scrutiny. He hasn't been able to just get it together. We are hoping to see the best of him. For whatever reason, we haven't seen the best of him. I think the best of him was at this point in his career while he played at Adelaide. He looks like he's had a full preseason. He looks to be fit. He looks to be ready to go. And for all the criticism that he does cop, and I will say I think it's deserved. You get what you deserve in this caper. Maybe not to the level that some people go because we can really get emotional. But he hasn't performed to the level that we want him to. And I think he really, I think he is set up for a good year. I think we're actually a better side when he plays. Never question that. But we need more this year. That's me. That's for me. What is your? Because you were very hopeful of him last year. You had a good chat with him at the BNF a few years back. He made some promises to you. He looked you in the eye. Talk to me about Mitch in 2021.
Well, I mean, me and Mitch, we're like siblings. We fall out. I love him again. We fall out. This is set up for him. When you come to a club of our stature with our fan base on big money, we're expecting returns. It hasn't quite happened, whether that's fitness related, whether you believe Sauce and we just throw him in because we're paying him a lot of money and he's cooked and he needs time to get fit. Whatever it is, it hasn't quite worked yet. But when you see Mitch at his best, you see what he can bring. He's brought it in glimpses. His tackle pressure against Port a couple of years ago. His ability to do the spectacular against St Kilda. In patches, you've seen it. You just never quite see it in... It's kind of like being catfished on Tinder. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
What you signed up for, you ain't got. So he's all set up for a minute now. He's the second man. He's got to be thinking Kerno's out. I'd hope Mitch is sat at home saying, these two idiots talking about Harry being the main man. I'm the fucking main man. And I'd hope he'd have that mindset.
That mentality.
Where he's like, you know what? I'm going to kick 50 this year. Yeah. I'm going to be the main man. I'm going to have these boys end of the year talking, is Mitch better than Harry?
Yeah.
And it's set up for him because we saw him leap. He can can climb. He can do the unthinkable. He's worked with Eddie. He's worked with Teague. He knows the system. So to me, it's about getting him. And I think he does his best work when Harry's doing his best work. When Harry's creating havoc, he's going to be the beneficiary of, hang about, they're all going to Harry now. He's drawing people. I'm open. So let's hope he does it. I don't want to see him up the ground, though. This is why I'd like to see him in the goal square, be that target. I hate to see him halfway down the ground.
Do you? Yeah. I don't mind him there because when I've watched some of our games from last year because I just, they just come on, you watch it, whatever. The Geelong game in particular, that was one of his best games of the season. When he's kicking the ball into the forward 50, good things generally happen. I think because he knows what good delivery is because he is a forward. I don't mind him. I remember when we had Jared Waite and he was just that link man, that half forward link man. I don't mind if that's Mitch. If Charlie's in the team, I think that player needs to be Harry, that link man kicking it into the 50, but also floating deep. I don't mind. Basically, that's my point. I don't mind Mitch playing a little bit up the ground. I like it. I think he also did a pretty good job at times against Port. There were just, like you said, there were moments. And when he's got that spring, which was early in the season, where he had that spring in his step, he looked really sharp. But we're not here for moments with him. We don't pay for moments.
I think he's a player that needs us. When I talked to him, everything he said to me about the club was the noise, the feeling, the drive, the expectation, the love. I think he's a guy that would suffer from playing in total silence. Okay. I think he's a thinker. Okay. I think he has doubts, self-doubts, big ones. And I think hearing us cheer his name, scream when he gets to the top of the back is the kind of thing that would spur him on to greatness. So with Mitch, I think we come too deep. I've watched all the swings this year and you see Harry and Mitch, they're like oscillating halfway in the midfield and I hate it. I want someone out there to cause a little bit of pressure. And I think Mitch is that guy because he does willing to throw his weight around. And I think this year is the year for Mitch. This is the year that he makes believers out of us. And we have cases in our club where players who were hated suddenly become fan favourites. Look at Levi, look at Jones, players that were much maligned. We fell back in love with
Well,
you.
because we want to love our players. It's not like we want to lash out at our players. We want them to do well, but they've got to do it, you know?
I can
And
see
for
him.
me, when I watch Mitch play, it's got to be 2 goals a game. That's what we're paying for. That's what he was brought to the club for, is to be that mature head in the forward line until Harry and Charlie grew up and they could really lead the club forward. Harry's still 23. Mitch is 26. I feel like Mitch is really the senior head in that forward line, and together with Levi and whatnot. And I still look at him as a guy that should be looking at 2 goals a game. However, I feel like I'm forced to lower my expectations now, so I don't put too much pressure on him. And I don't want to get into that mentality. It's like,
No, put
no,
pressure on him.
Mitch is good enough. I really do believe he's good enough to kick 2 goals a game, because when he's at his best, he is doing that. So it's just hard. What makes you a believer in 2021? And you at home, what makes you a believer in 21? What does he need to do for you to say, okay, this is the Mitch that we paid for? What does that look like for you?
Well, what makes me confident is we're going to play finals this year. And if you look at us through an average of our stats, we were 21% away from where we needed to be.
Right.
Which says to me every player is going to be 20% better than they were last year.
Okay.
So I would say for me, a successful for Mitch would be to base his game on Hawkins in the avenue of be the provider. We know Hawkins is a goal kicker, but what people forget about Tom, what makes him so good, is he brings players into the game. Quite often, he looks for the next best kick. He's the best goal provider in the comp. I want to see him 30 goals plus.
Okay.
But I want to see whatever he kicks in goals, he beats in assists. I want to be able to say at the end of the next year, he could have had 60 if he was selfish, but he gave 20 to Jack. He gave 20 to Harry. I want to see him be the facilitator. And that's where, kind of what you said, the link man, I want to see him be that facilitator, be the team man, because I think he's got it in him. I think he is a threat, and he's going to be that kind of guy that the day that Harry's locked down, that's where he kicks for.
Okay. The other notion about Mitch, and I will obviously ask you at home, and I'm seeing some comments here, is him as a defender. I speak about this with my housemate often. He tells me, look at his brother. Mitch is a defender. And I say, well, just because Jeremy's a defender doesn't mean that Mitch is a defender. At what point do we have to start exploring that option? Because obviously round 17, 2020, we put him in the back line. We started him there anyway. Is that something that's going to become a reality this year? Or is that something we never have to look at?
Well, they go back to that game that one game he played against North for Adelaide, where he did towel up the forward line, who had the most wasteful inside 50s in the comp at the time. I mean, also in year 10, I scored 143 and took 6 wickets. So, I mean, I could also bat for Australia at number 3 and be the spinner. So, also, because I did it once. But to answer your question seriously.
Thanks, Paul.
To answer your question seriously, not for me, no. I like it as an option in game.
Okay.
Kind of like Levi is, but I think Teague and his recruitment staff have got a brain. We saw it this year with Simpson. Simpson admitted he was kind of tapped on the shoulder. And what did they do? They were like, right, none of the kids are going to be a good small defender. Sod it. We'll buy one from Essendon. So my mentality would be, let's not create a key defender at this club if we need backup and we need a replacement for Jones because he's the eldest of the two. Go out and buy it. If these kids aren't willing to show it, buy it. Let's not make one. Mitch's skill set, just because his brother is a key defender, 2 different players. Go and watch Jeremy play.
Jeremy's
the only thing they've got in
else.
common is the surname and the fact they both like a pasty after the game. Different skill sets altogether. Different skill sets whatsoever.
Yeah,
he's the fastest player in our forward line. Mitch is.
Yeah, let's highlight that. Say that again. Mitch McGovern is the fastest player in the forward line.
Absolute grease lightning, he is.
Yeah.
So that's where his skill set is, his ability to lead, his impact. He can take the ball deep inside 50 and hit a target.
Wasn't his top speed last year? It was like 33.4 kilometers. That was the top speed that anyone had reached in the team.
He is the perfect mole security cop because in 10 meters, he will catch Usain Bolt in the first 10 meters. He's quick. And I like him. You've got to look at that Adelaide game where he kicked, 45 in a year when Eddie went mental as well.
Mhm.
Look at what he did there. That's where we need him. And they had a lot of injuries. And that year, to their other key forwards, their Jacobs and players like that. And he had to play the second for a lot of that year. So we know he can play second tall. And it's now his opportunity. So give him that opportunity. And he did well at facilitating. And the goals came on the back of he facilitated so well. The key forward drew two people and he was left alone with the outnumber.
Yeah.
That's where he is.
Okay. Let's get some of your comments. Rocco says, forget about being a star. How about he does the basic? Contribute. How about he starts there? Bryce Richards says, all we want from Mitch is effort and consistency. He doesn't have to be flashy. Dominic believes it's all in his head. I think he needs a confidence injection, maybe a spell on the back line. Alexander says, being put in the back line won't give him confidence in being an attacking tall forward. I'm with that. I know that we're sort of in two different minds as fans. Some people genuinely believe he is a defender. Stephen, for example, says that Mitch could be our quarterback. He has elite delivery by foot. That he does. Arda says he has talent. He needs to be more aggressive and get more involved in games and work harder. It's the common comment about Mitch McGovern that I see personally from fans. It's all about effort. It's all about that application. And that's what we want to see. That's what it's all about. So that's been Mitch McGovern. I hope at the end of 21, we're saying, oh, okay, it wasn't so bad of an investment. I really do. I really think he's got what we need.
I think it's important as well. Start this year. My mindset, we know I'm the most critical and we know I'm the big expectation boy. Every bloke gets a fresh, clean piece of paper. This is a new year, new start.
Yep.
So, Mitch, if you're watching, go kill it, big fella. I got your back, bro.